Hey, CF. Hey, a little special bulletin on Monday here for you. Yesterday, I had an awesome conversation with a wonderful woman after our service. She was so grace-filled and so lovely in the way she challenged me in asking about our apparent lack of focus on praying for our nation and the world as we kind of walk through all this. I told her that I didn't think it took direction from leadership for the prayerful to pray on their own, but then she said, yes, you're right, but it sure is nice to know that the leadership is in step with us and that the church is praying together. And you know what? Humbly, I will say she's absolutely right. You know, Paul also told us to pray for all people, for kings, and for all who are in high positions. That's 1 Timothy chapter 2. You know, we need to pray for our nation. We need to pray for our nation, especially right now. We need to pray for the final days of this presidential vote count and all the stuff that goes with that, the pending lawsuits and just all that goes with that situation. We need to pray for the candidates, that their hearts would be pure and open to God's direction. We need to pray that if there is any intentional fraud or deception, that it would be brought to light, whether it be with the election or in any level of government, no matter what it pertains to. That's my prayer. Daniel says this, Daniel 2:21 says that it is God who changes the times and the epochs. He removes kings and establishes kings. Presidents, kings, and rulers, they all come and go, don't they? We've seen many throughout our lifetimes, throughout the world, but the one who sits on the throne of heaven has not and will not change. So my ultimate trust in these types of situations that I do not understand sometimes has to remain squarely in trusting the one who does the placement and the removing. I don't know how that works all the time, but the Apostle Paul told us this. He said, let every person be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and those that exist have been instituted by God. That's very humbling to me. That's out of Romans chapter 13. So that's always easier to do when we like the policies and politics of the person we're praying for. But no matter what, I hope that we will pray continually for whoever it is that finally takes the oath of office in January, whether they are our preferred candidate or not. That is not only what the Bible says to do, but it is what we are all to do. One pastor said it this way. I thought he's put it so well. He says that here's our chance to show that Christians are not hypocrites. We serve a God who remains on his throne, sovereignly reigning over every square inch of this universe. We serve a God who loves us and will never leave or forsake us. And now we have the chance to show the consistency and the constancy of our Christian witness to the world. So here's what we want to do. We want to take the next 4 weeks, starting this coming Wednesday, to pray as a church for all sorts of things, but with a lot of it focused on our nation, our state, our families, the pandemic, the church, and other items which are really affecting us right now. We're going to make a prayer guide available that's going to be in this week's Newswire that will give you a guide to pray each day. So we can be praying together. We need to be praying for the elected officials and perhaps especially praying for those we may not have preferred, so that God can bring humility to our hearts and hopefully to their hearts as well. We need to pray for the peace that passes all understanding that can only come from God to drift over this nation, and for the violence to not just be snuffed out, but for those who desperately need to be heard to have a peaceful platform for that to happen. Folks, we have to stand in the gap. And that gap looks differently all the time. I'm humbled today. I was awake much of the night thinking about this last night. And I want you to know as I sit here today that I'm making absolutely no political statements. I'm making a statement for the church to stand and pray. And pray for our nation, and pray for our world, and pray for our state, and pray for our families, and pray for our kids right now, especially for our kids. I love you. Look forward to talking to you again on Wednesday.